Hey everybody, welcome to a new episode of Blockchain Central. In today's episode, we'll analyze the biggest ICO scams of the past year. As we all know, 2018 was a difficult year for the crypto and blockchain technologies, and scammers exploiting the gullibility of individual investors were one of the many low points of last year. If you want to see a recap of 2018, make sure to check out the video, and now let's look at the worst ICOs of 2018. Whenever there is an up-and-coming new market, bad actors will always emerge with the goal of making millions overnight. We saw that happen during the dot-com bubble, and now we're seeing it again with crypto. How did those scams work? The most typical scams rely on fortifying the value of the token through social media, celebrity endorsements, and the overall hype train. Once the token reaches a satisfying price, the owners would immediately sell their share, driving the price down and disappear. It is also known as cornering the market and is the reason why most such scams are referred to as an ICO exit scam or pump and dumps. When it comes to typical publicly available commodities, cornering the market requires a fair share of resources. Imagine trying to corner the market of silver as a commodity, as the Hunt brothers tried during the 1980s by investing $4.5 billion in the commodity. Their plan was ultimately cut short by the government, and the brothers went bankrupt in 1988. The price of a crypto asset, especially one launched by a bad actor, can be manipulated much more easily. A few investors working in conjunction with a coin issuer and followed by the intense social media campaign can influence the price quickly and efficiently. Add to that the concept of pre-mining, where developers arbitrarily grant themselves a certain amount of coins, and you might have a problem on your hands. Other ways scammers exploit the market are by Ponzi scams, which pay profits to earlier investors by using funds obtained from more recent transactions. These are usually carried out in conjunction with misleading information about the asset and the team behind it. It is important to know that Ponzi schemes also frequently promise guaranteed returns. In response to increase the amount of ICO scams, the SEC created their own fake coin, the Howey coin, named after the Howey test. If you want to know more about the Howey test, check out our last episode. The coin looked like the real proposition to revolutionize the travel industry, but when users clicked on the Buy Now icon, they were taken to an SEC website warning and educating them about the risk of imprudent investments. The website lists guaranteed returns and celebrity endorsements as the main red flags for ICO scams. So let's take a closer look at 5 ICO scams that happened in 2018. Blockbroker was one of the most ironic scams of 2018. The project advertised one to eradicate ICO scams turned out to be a scam itself. As is typically the case with such projects, the website used fake photos of the team and a vague white paper. Interestingly, Blockbroker was holding a perfect 5-star rating on various ICO tracking sites until it was clear that the team has disappeared. It is reported that the Blockbroker ICO earned approximately $3 million. NVO was a project that managed to keep its participants engaged for over a year after their ICO had ended up disappearing in August of 2018. The project was advertised as a cross-platform, modular decentralized exchange that would also pay out dividends from the exchange fees to all token holders. But what it ended up doing was taking off 3,000 BTC or 8 million USD. The project boasted a slick-looking website, which is still online by the way, and a well-developed white paper. This made it different from many other scams whose white papers were usually sloppy and extremely convoluted. According to the current understanding of the situation, the team behind NVO has been deceiving investors about the progress of their project by always finding excuses for the delays before disappearing altogether in August of 2018. CryptoCommie promised to deliver the new third-generation blockchain infrastructure for global financial services, whatever that means. The white paper was described as vague and the team behind the project was anonymous. Their anonymity was officially justified by the need to prevent CryptoCommie from being overridden by the various legal barriers between countries. A Reddit user who did some research on the project discovered that all their social media profiles were created in January 2018, and most comments were from new accounts using vague, high positive expressions. It turns out that not everyone used the same due diligence that the aforementioned Reddit user did, as CryptoKami managed to disappear with 12 million USD. The name Shenzhen Puyan Blockchain Group is commonly associated with three separate entities: AC Chain, Puyan, and BioLife Chain. It first started with Shenzhen Puyan, a company that was connected to tokens backed by a rare and highly valuable Puerti. The company invested in a massive marketing campaign on social media and multiple roadshows in expensive hotels, all aimed to gain publicity. After the ICO gained some traction, the team allegedly used the proceeds to buy more tokens to drive the price further up. The Shenzhen Puyan company allegedly accumulated over $48 million before disappearing. It is unclear whether the company actually had any holdings in the conveyed Yunnan Puer. AC Chain, not to be confused with A-Chain, was another project that was associated with Jiwan, a person listed as the registered owner of Shenzhen Puyan Blockchain Group Corporation Limited. Matters of this company's exit scam are much more complicated, with allegations floating on Reddit about an abandoned office, lack of contact, hacking allegations, and even internal industrial sabotage. Needless to say, their website acchain.org is currently down, and their white paper has been found as a cached copy. The third project, BioLife Chain, which can still be found online, was considered by many to be a money laundering scheme to safely process the money gained via the two previous endeavors. All three companies are alleged to have accumulated over $60 million during their operations. Luckily, the Chinese authorities managed to apprehend 6 people who were suspected of being involved with these scams. Their further fate is unknown. A Vietnamese company called Modern Tech is allegedly behind one of the biggest exit scams in history. It is Pincoin and iFan, two startups operating from Singapore and Dubai, which together gathered over $660 million in April of 2018. Interestingly enough, long before going silent, the Pincoin project has been labeled and warned against as a Ponzi scheme. It is not surprising, taking into consideration that their unique selling point was 48% of monthly returns. As we said before, guaranteed returns should always serve as a red flag. The white paper stated that Pincoin was building an online collaborative consumption platform for the global community, and it is ambitiously promised 8 separate blockchain products and a separate social media service called iFan. It quickly became apparent that the iFan service was a smokescreen meant to distract the public from the fact that Pincoin has no intention of paying its investors who started getting paid in iFan tokens. Clocking in at a loss of $660 million, Pincoin has every right to be called one of the biggest exit scams of this decade. Most of the examples above were successful scams, where their orchestrators managed to get away from the authorities, but that doesn't mean that ICO scams are a good way of making money. Outside of a few successful attempts, most ICO scam perpetrators have been arrested and are facing severe consequences. These include, among others, Centratech, Cashcoin, Arise Bank, and Plexcoin. So, how do you make sure that you're not going to be scammed like that? Of course, there is no guarantee. Investing money is always associated with the underlying risk, but there are several measures you can take in order to minimize your exposure to the risk. First of all, follow the guidelines given by the SEC on their website. Watch out for red flags such as guaranteed returns, celebrity endorsements, claims of being SEC compliant, and opportunities to invest with a credit card. Second of all, don't get carried away by the hype train. Analyze the business model carefully to see if the project appears to be commercially viable and is adding real value to real people. Read the white paper carefully and see if you can understand it clearly. If the developers cannot communicate their ideas coherently, it might mean that they don't understand their own business model, or even worse, there is no business model at all. Keep an eye out for lazy formatting, spelling, and syntax mistakes. If the white paper comes across as sloppy and written quickly, it can indicate a scam attempt. Of course, as was the case with NVO, just having a solid-looking white paper does not mean that the project is legit, but seeing multiple mistakes should definitely raise a red flag. Make sure you analyze the team behind the project, check their social media profiles, and do Google image search of their profile pictures to make sure that they are not stolen. Check out their social media and see if there is a legitimate discussion happening on these platforms. Talk to other crypto enthusiasts on forums or in real life. Pick their brain and see how they feel about the project. And always remember, if something sounds too good to be true, it probably isn't. Always be on the highest alert when you see guaranteed returns. Of course, if you see just one of the above elements, this does not necessarily mean that the project is bogus. Maybe it's an honest mistake. But if you see more than one of the aforementioned issues, it might mean that the project is a scam. Before you go, please note that this content does not represent financial, legal, or tax advice, nor is it supposed to be understood or interpreted as solicitation to buy or sell any securities, coins, or tokens. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, make sure to hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe to Blockchain Central to never miss a beat. See you next time.